people don't think when they stand up, but when your joints lock, your feet fall asleep, and your legs prove to be unpredictable, standing up actually becomes a transition you have to pay attention to. For me, that one moment is something I've learned that I need to pay attention to. The transition between sitting and standing. Have you ever had to pause to allow your body to catch up when you stand? I want to be clear that this is not another movement episode. When I was filming the small movements episode, I found that there was a lot of footage explaining about how these movements were related to my falls. And I felt it was valuable information that I could share. And so this episode is not about movements. What it is, it's about standing up from when you're in a seated or laying down position. And the reason this needed to be stated was because it was a direct tie into the small movements, but it was the opposite side of it. However, this is not an episode on fall prevention. I intend on doing an episode related directly to that at a later date. When I originally started shifting, it wasn't because I thought of being able to reduce stiffness. The reason I was doing it was because of the sensation where your foot falls asleep, the stiffness that comes within your lower joints when you're sitting for a long period of time and not moving. We all know that feeling. But if I try standing on that, that's extremely dangerous because one of my big symptoms is falls. When you try and stand up, your joints are locked, your foot's asleep, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're probably going to hit the deck. And that just causes more injuries. And the fact is my ankles are already weak. They're part of my disability. I have already fractured my ankle once due to a fall. And even though that was 6 years ago, I still wear my ankle brace quite a long time. Generally, depending on the day and if I'm going out, I still wear my ankle brace a good 6, 7 hours a day. In part because of compression, because it eases some of the pain that's still in that joint. So when I talk about falls, what I'm talking about is my legs collapse and I lose control of them, period. Sometimes for several minutes. I can't tell you how many times I've had a fall and I've had to drag myself across the floor to get away from being in the middle of something. And that sensation of falling asleep when I try and stand up on an already weakened joint, it really made me think of, okay, what can I do to try and prevent this? In the fall injury that I got, which fractured my ankles, it was because I rushed. I was in a group with a bunch of people. We were doing something, and I had to try and go get something to drink quickly. So even though my foot had fallen asleep and I did not give it enough time to actually wake up. I'd stomped it to try and make sure it woke up, but I didn't give it time. And due to that, I fell and fractured my ankle. That experience changed the way I stand up. I was already cautious, but that one really taught me that I need to pay better attention to this thing. Falls were passe for me. I did them for so long, it wasn't even funny. But I never thought about how speed and rushing could cause so much more damage. And this right here is why I made the change in how I stand up. It's not fear for the sake of fear. It is experience taught me to be careful. And there's another harsh reality we have to deal with. With fibromyalgia, we tend to heal slower. That fracture, most people get out of their air casts or into braces long before I did. Mine, it took 3 months. And I was in a wheelchair for that whole 3 months. Whereas most people, when they get a fracture, they start moving into a brace at 4 to 6 weeks. That's just a reality of fibro. We heal slower. And that is due in part to our sleep patterns and the way we don't get as much restorative sleep as most. After that fall, I got a lot more cautious about when I got up. Because before that, I did a lot of the shifting. I just didn't realize the pattern as much. After that fall, I started noticing it because I was more aware of that foot falling asleep. Before I even get up, if I've got that sensation, I start by banging my foot on the floor, trying to wake it up, trying to get the neurological system going again. I pause before I stand up. It's not dramatic. What it is it is cautious. What I'm checking before I stand up is, has my foot fallen asleep? Are my legs stiff? Do they feel inflamed? Have I not moved enough so that there is no flexibility? And honestly, I'm checking to see if my legs will actually stand and hold me up. I tend to sit in a cross-legged position, even in a chair. That's in part because of the hip stiffness that I deal with a lot. That bursitis and tendinitis I've got in my left hip does not go away, in part because my right knee is not stable, and it hasn't been since I was 20. I won't lie. I generally find that the most dangerous thing about sitting down, it's standing back up. I use my arms a lot. I always use chairs that have, at least if I have a choice, I always use chairs with arms. I use tables. I do things to stabilize myself when I'm getting up, whether I have the feeling of my foot being asleep or not. I touch tables when I'm walking in restaurants. I touch chairs, all of this stuff. I touch walls. But that's just a learned behavior because falls are a part of my disability. Every single transition you do, whether it be from sitting to standing, whether it be laying down to sitting to standing, all of these are stuff you develop into your own system. I've developed my own system based on my own particular body needs. And you need to develop yours. So I want to say that if you pause before you stand up, it's not fear. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're lazy. And most importantly, it doesn't mean you're being dramatic. It means you've learned to listen to your body and give it what it needs, not to cause additional injury. Do you have a small habit, pause, or adjustment that helps you feel safer before standing up? Share it in the comments because you never know when someone else in our community has the exact same thoughts, and you may help them realize that they're not different, especially considering it's something most people never think about. I share more about living with fibromyalgia and learning how to manage it in a supportive way. So if that helps you, feel free to stick around. I know how isolating fibromyalgia can feel, so I have started a Discord where my hope is that people can come, talk, share experiences, and just feel less alone. I'll leave a link to that below. And if you'd rather reach out privately, I am including my email as well. Everything shared here is based on my personal experience living with fibromyalgia and my own research. This is not medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please use your own judgment and speak with a qualified professional when needed.